Hey, Fitzy here, back at it again with another one. On this one, you see it. I cut 16 inches out of the front of this box. And you remember that rust? Stick around. So, we're back on the Vic 100. I was out here this morning cleaning up, fixing up a few things, and it's time for us to get started on this front section of the box. I got some questions I got to answer. I never explained in the last video why I shortened this 4 inches. A few people wondered why I'm shortening it. The difference with it is, okay, in these boxes, this box here was an 8-foot box. Now, this Crown Vic swap that I'm doing, it's the wheelbase on a Crown Vic is pretty well the same as a short wheelbase Ford pickup truck, which is like a 6-foot box. Doing lots of research. This is not something I figured out on my own. There's lots of videos out there, guys, shortening the boxes on these trucks, and they talk about what they have to remove. The difference between a long 8-foot box and a short 16 or 6-foot box is that right here in the front, the box is 16 inches shorter on the front and it's 4 inches shorter on the back. Now, some guys leaves the back alone and it looks longer on the back. It gives you more room in the box, but I'm more wanting it to look like an original style box. So I'm going ahead with it. Like, I think that when he leaves the box long in the front, this section here looks longer than this section here, and it doesn't look right. But modern trucks today now has that look on the go where it's shorter here and longer here. But me, personally, I like it when it's shorter in the back. I wanted to just clarify that because I never explained it exactly what I was doing here in the last video about shortening it. Now, to get started on this today, I turned around and took a bunch of measurements just to verify my wheelbase and everything, because where I mounted this cab, maybe I moved it back farther, maybe I moved it forward further than what it usually was. So I took some measurements from here out to the center line of the wheel, got a measurement. I gave it about an inch gap on the back of the cab, then I measured from where I figured this would be an inch back, and then this lip here. And then I come up with a measurement, and then I turn around and I found the center line of the wheel. I went and looked at pictures online, and I realized the center line of the wheel is about right here. So I measured from this point here back to here and got a measurement, and then I subtracted the difference in it, and it worked out to be about 16 inches. It was 15 3/4, but I was, I'm really getting fudging measurements there. It's only 1/4 of an inch, and I can move it one way or another. I didn't want to cut too much off, and or cut too little off, because the problem I didn't want the wheel to be off center too much in the back in the rear wheel. Now, in saying that, I may have to rework all these rear arches anyway, so I shouldn't be too much worried about it. But I just wanted to clarify, just by a few measurements, that my build needs to get 16 taken out of it, and that's what I'm going to take out of it. I'm doing this one a little bit different. A lot of guys comes back through here and cuts it. Some fellas comes in through here and cuts it, and then, leaves all this here and moves it up. I don't care about the pockets. They're going. I'm going to weld over this pocket and get rid of it. The back one the same way. The pockets in this are rusty in the bottom, so I don't need them anyway. What I wanted to check was right here. I took this straight at this level and laid it up and down on the very bottom and on the very top. Right there and right there. And when I look in across it, that there is pretty well level right down through there. Okay, when you look at that there, that's the way that is there. That's nice and straight there. So I know that this edge is a straight cut. Now, all I intend to do is measure back 16 inches, which is I already marked it here. I got it marked here. And I'm going to, this is where my 16 inches is going to be. But I'm going to leave about, I'd say 1/4 of an inch or a little bit more, probably 3/8 of an inch on the end of it. I'm not going to be able to get this entire lip. See this lip here? I'm going to have to weld this lip on, but I want to get this rolled edge. I've often talked about it before. You can roll a certain percentage of metal, you can roll very easy with simple tools. and you don't need it. And I'll weld this lip on here after the fact. So what I'm going to do is measure back 16 inches, come ahead like 3/8 of an inch, and that will be my cut line. So then I'll measure back from that. Now, same as the other side, I'm going to take a measurement from here back to here somewhere. I'm going to go like 3 feet, because the problem I got on the other side, there's a lot of rust. And I got to do some repairs in this section right here. As you can see, I got to do some repairs here. So I got to go right back to here somewhere in order to get decent metal. So I'm going to go back to here somewhere and take a measurement from here and draw a line down through here. So I got something parallel to my cut that I'm going to do. But before I make any cuts, I got to make these up. I got to make up these sections here and replace all these, because all I'm doing is I'm going to move all this section back. This is the reason why I'm not cutting it this way here, because I got nothing here to move back. And I'm going to have to, and all this rolled edge is all bad, so I want to replace all that and put all good metal there. Same with down the bottom here. So I got to go get some sheet metal now to make these up. And these are just flat pieces of steel. They got little bends on them. And all I'm going to do is trace them out. The way I got to go, bend it up and then weld them together so that they fit in and lays right on over the top of all this. I'll clean all this up so it's half flat. And when I get this fit in place, I'll turn around and I'll cut this in here. Along here, I want to leave a bit of the rolled edge here and cut that off so I can lay this in place and weld it on. And then this will line up with this down here, so it's going down through. And then get these all welded back on so this here is solid again. I got some dents here and this here. I'm going to just flatten out the dents. I'm not going to be over concerned with having this inside of the box perfect. I'm just going to, while I'm here now, I'll just tap these down, put a dolly on the back side, tap them down. And that's the extent of the repairs. I have some rust down here I got to repair as well. I'm not too concerned about it. I'll probably end up moving the box forward with it like it is, and then I'll repair that later, because I'm probably going to, when I put some bed floor in it, I may have to put some angle iron or something in it, and I might just cut this clean right off along here and then put the angle iron in it. I don't know yet, but like, I'm not concerned about it right now, because I'm saving this frame, right? I'm going to cut this the same way as the other one. I'm going to save the front frame right here, cut along here, look at the holes. All that's down there. So I'm going to remove this section here and just save the cross member. And then the rest of it, oh, there's a bit of rubber, here's my, and that's full there. And then clean all that out before it does anything. And then that way, because all this is gone, like I said in the last video. So I'm going to go out now and dig out some metal. Again, I'm going to use recycled metal here. I got the Crown Vic hood from the second car, and I saved that just for this box. I'm going to do all the repairs on this here. I got to do repairs here. This side here, I'm pretty sure this is clean. This should clean up pretty good. The other side is a question. This side over here, I got to replace a lot of, because 16 inches is right here. So I'm going to lose all this here, which is good, but I'm going to have to repair this much here. So I got to make this piece up here, use sections of the Crown Vic to make that up. I think the bottom should be fine. It doesn't look like it. Something tells me when I dig into it, I'm going to fall into it in places. But that's minor. It's only rust, people. It's only rust. All right, I'll go dig out that hood. So I went ahead and I cleaned all this off, any old paint or anything that was in the way of hiding the shape of how everything is shaped. I never disturbed it too much. If it flaked off, it flaked off. If it stayed there, it stayed there. You can see the way this works now. This comes over this way, and then it bends up, and it tucks in behind this panel here, and it tucks in behind this panel here, and the spot welded on down through here. That's the way this works. I couldn't really notice nothing going on right here, but when I cleaned up the other side, I realized that the panel is made in 2 sections. This one was put in first, and then this one was put in over the top of it. I'm not going to be concerned about that. I'm going to see if I can make it all in one big panel, because this just holds up rust, and it rusted out on the other side. So, and you can see the way, what I don't like about this is this overlap the way it goes. This is on the outside of the vehicle. If I was in production of this here now, I would have this overlapping this here, so it'd be on the bottom. So that way any runoff and everything can't get down behind the panel. Now this was seam sealed and all that type of stuff, but still don't matter. Moisture still can get in behind there because of the way, just moisture when stuff sweats, it just has a tendency to be there and it don't want to run this way, right? So in behind the panel would sweat, and then I had nowhere to go but inside and rust. That's it. So I'm here now sizing things up, trying to get the shape of it here. There is a bit of a curvature to this here. Now, I hope you're all sitting down. I think I'm going to make a cardboard template of this flat section down through here. and have that so that I can find it, because this here has a little bit of a roll, like over exaggerating, and it rolls like this, kicks in here, and then it rolls out, and then it rolls back in around this way here. And if I had this here drawn out on something, I can mark it onto the panel. So I went over here then, and I measured it up. I like starting with square pieces of metal, because you got measure spots to measure off of when you're doing it. This here is too wide. I only need like about 5 1/4. This is about 6.5 inches, and I need about 30. This is about 31, 30 and a half, somewhere around there measurements. So I just done it out the center of the panel, because I got to make another one on the other side, and I just want a nice piece of metal out the center of it. Like, I never bother with trying to cut this out here and stuff like that. I just start from the middle and work my way out on these panels, because I got to go cross this over some way. I got to get rid of that at one point. Also, I made my measuring device, okay? I wanted to go back from the edge of the front, back 32 inches to start off my measurements. From the inside of this bend to the end of this here is 32 inches. So now this comes over here, and we lay this in this way here, it'll hook in there, and I pull it tight. That there is 32 inches. Right here, I got 2 little grinder marks put on it. They're 16 inches. So when I comes over here, I can come down through, I can mark it on that mark there, and I got it done so I can do the other side as well. When I come over to this side here, I can actually measure this way here, and I got the marks there to measure off 16 and 32. So I haven't got to worry about taking measuring tapes or anything. This is my new measuring device here now. Just don't go cutting it up, Tony. And also what I did, what I was concerned about, is when I let all this go, this is going to want to move inboard, and I don't want to narrow up the front of this too much. So I took this outer point here, and I took this outer point here, and I took reference marks in here, off of this panel here, from here, out here, outside edge of 17 inches here. Now this one here, I want to take a nice long measurement, so I had something to go by. I took from here, and I come up on a diagonal to the center one here, and measured it here on the corner, and it's 42 inches here, and 42 inches on it here. Because when I was piddling around with this side over here, this side was all pushed in. So when I cuts all this clear, all this is going to want to relax inward. And if I mix it all up and welds it all up, and this here is in too far, it's going to look stupid on the cab. So I wanted to take measurements on these here, done the same thing over here, 17 to here, and I got the measurement from here up to here, 42. So that way, them two positions, when I move the cab forward, they will be the same no matter how far up the truck I move. So now I'm ready. I'm going to go ahead now and cut this out, bring it over on the bench, and then I'm going to sit down and hold your breath. I'm going to make a template. And for anybody new here, that's a running joke, because if you follow my channel, I don't make a lot of templates. They have their place and they're good to make. If you find it easier to make templates to do all this, go ahead, do it. I've been at it a long time, and a lot of stuff I can just see. I say, yeah, I can make that bend there. I don't need a template for it. But in the case of this here, I want to make a template. I make a joke about it that I don't use templates and stuff like that. So I got the piece all cut out. I got it over on the bench, and I got it all cleaned up. Then I went ahead and I made a template. What I wanted to make a template of is the flat surface on the front of this panel. Okay, so I made this here so it lined up. Wherever it started to bend, that's what I come out to. So I can actually transfer this over to the piece of metal now and mark it out. Then I can start working on the bend that comes up off from there. You can see the way this is all shaped down through here. And this is all bent on the edge of this here going along like this. And that's the way that works. So it'd be a lot easier to do a template of the base to get the shape of it than try to do this freehand. Yep, I made a template. So I'm going to take this over now and transfer it onto the sheet metal. This is all I did. I brought it over here. I got it dropped a little tiny bit from the overall length of it, and I got lots left on the bottom side of it. I'm going to leave all that there because I noticed this tips down and comes out around this way here. So there's a bit of metal left there. It's a lot of metal that I got here, but I just assume I have too much, not enough. What I got to do now is, like, as you can see, I got it marked on this now. It's all marked out. What I got to do now is figure out how I'm going to make these rolls and how much metal actually needs in here to do this. Some places, like down here, I may have to weld the piece on because of the way it's shaped. I don't want to go trying to work this piece of metal too much to throw anything off. If I can make a bend here and I can make a bend here, this is a bit tricky. I might make 2 bends here and then another one up here like this, and then shape them coming up around here, because this here got a bit of a roll on it here, and it comes up this way. So it might be easier just to turn around and make this piece coming up here. I'll probably bend it as far as here and make this last section, or even just cut it through here and make 2 bends and then put a piece in there. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do there yet. I just don't like the idea of doing like one cut in an area. But I got to realize too, you're never going to see this. This is going in the front of the box. But you never ever think about it that way either. But like because of the type of vehicle it is and what I'm building here, I really got to, like, my natural instinct is to try to make everything perfect. But I got to cut corners, and how you cut corners is by don't do as much detail, because detail is time. That's it. So I'm going to go ahead now and figure out how much of this I'm going to need here and start drawing it out and figure out what I'm going to cut out and what I'm going to save. So I got it all marked out here now, and I got marked where I'm going to cut it out. Now, there's a number of ways you can probably bend this. One of the things, you can use like a tipping die and probably come up here and bend all this you want to. I'm not going hauling out no equipment, because I'm building this truck with very little or nothing. What I got around, a hammer, grinder, that's basically it. There is proper ways of bending this. I do have some of the tools here to do it. Just different techniques to use. I'm trying to do this as quick as possible, and to make it look presentable looking. There's one thing to make something perfect, and the only difference between perfection and roughness is time. So like, the more time you spend on something, the more you have into it, that type of thing. So I'm just going to cut a few corners here now, and I'm going to cut this off here first of all, get the shape out of here, and then I'm just going to start figuring out what I'm going to make. I'm probably just going to make a couple of cuts in through here, split this one here, make a cut in through here for now, see if I can roll a little bit of this, maybe, I don't know. No, I'm going to end up cutting that there. I'm going to cut that piece out, because that one's going to be really tricky. And up here, this is going to be another tricky one too, because it's a big roll on it. I may take a chisel or something and hammer down into this here to try to get it to bend, so I can actually get it rolled up. But I must keep this flat, right? So anyway, I'll go ahead now and get this trimmed up. As you see what I just did there, I turned around, I bent it in the vise. I made up this little template of the angle that I needed, so I had something to go by when I laid it in place. And I'll use this now to make sure all these are in place when they're done. But what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to go around here now. You can see the way I bent this. You can see that's got a bit of a curvature on it. I only bent half of it. Did the same thing up here. It's got a bit of a curvature on it. I only bent a small bit of it, and then I bent the other side of it. It managed to manipulate it enough to get the roll on it that I was after. What I got to do now is figure out the little angles here, clean this up here, weld them together, make a little piece for there, trim this up, roll this around here, weld them together there. Same with down here, make up a piece to go down here to roll this way, that'll come up in shape like this as well. So that way I can have it all done. The bottom got to be reworked a bit more for the bottom edge, because this kind of like rolls out this way. And but what I'll do now is I'll just keep going back and forth. I'm going to clean it up a bit more over on the truck so I can actually fit this better. And we'll see what we'll come up with then. I'll get this stuff here welded up. Here I got it all welded up, nothing fancy. I turn around, put little strips in here. I welded the edge here, welded the edge here, another strip in here. I made up a little piece to go in here. Never got fussy with it. Welded it in there, like the back side of it here. You see the way it is, cleaned it all up. I kept test fitting it, and you can see I got a marker on it now. The reason for that marker is over here I got everything cleaved out of the way. Now you can see the way this roll is right here. This is what I want to achieve up there on the panel. Right where this rolls off here, I want to be able to do that right here like this here, dolly this in around here in order to get it to actually roll into the panel. Now the panel that I made, I want to tuck in behind this here, and then there'll be a strip that I'll put in here that'll weld on, that'll be spot welded on to the actual panel that I'm making here. But you can see I got this all let go down bottom here. Everything's let go on the side of the panel here now. So I'm working on getting that other panel to fit here and come up through. You can see I cut the top side out of it. I got to clean this up a bit more. I got to clean the face of this off. There's metal there that got to be taken off so this can move back. I'm going to go ahead now and clean this all off because this panel actually overlaps here. So there's only this upper one here that got to come off. And down here, I'll clean all this up and get this prepped so that I can actually tuck it in place. But I've been test fitting it and trimming it and fitting it and trimming it and getting everything just so whatever, taking my measurements from here over to there and from there to there to make sure that it's not moving. Everything seems to be good. I had to split through the weld here again, tap that one out. I had to split through the weld down here as well and tap that in, make it smaller, and I had to put a bit of a bend on it. Just been playing around, going back and forth, getting the fit. I'm trying to get this so this here fits, like, you know, just tucked in behind this actual lip going down through here. And I'm happy with it. I'm pleased with that. It's nothing pretty or nothing like that, but when I put a strip over that and with a seam seal around that and puts it on the truck, you'll never see that going 40 miles an hour on horseback. Anyway, I want to get this stuff here welded up, here and here, get that trimmed up. And then I'm going to work on, what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to work on making the other one. And that way I got both of them made, and I can use this one here to compare the two of them, so make sure the two of them are the same, and they're sitting in the same, the distance from here to here is the same, all that type of stuff, right? So I'll get this one welded up. And probably what I'll end up doing is doing a final fit on it, put a couple of clecos in it, so that I know that it's going to stay there, and then I can start working on building the other side. So here I have it all prepped and ready to go. I got all the pieces taken off from behind it. I got this prepped. This is ready to go in, and it's all in place there. I'm here sitting down, sizing things up. I'm going to go ahead and make the other one. I was going to weld these in, but I started to think about it, and I said, you know, Tony, it'd be best if I left that alone, and I'll put them in after I move them forward. It'll be a lot easier to work the edge piece and stuff like that, and to move the box forward, because there is a bracket in behind there that I can fold down and all that type of stuff and do a nicer job on the edge of the inner panel in here. This panel here, I'll do a nicer job with this out of the way, and then I can install that last. So my plan is here now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this section over here, and I'm going to get that fitting in place the same as I got done that side there. And then what I'm going to do after that's done, I'm going to work on cutting the entire front right off it and taking it off, so then I can start marking. But first thing, well, before I does that, I'm going to have to measure back and do my marks and stuff like that, get all that done. So it's a fair bit here. I don't know how much I'm going to get done on this one, but I'm just going to keep motoring forward, making pieces and stuff like that. So I'm going to start making the piece for the other side there. I have it cut out, cleaned up, and I got it marked. So I got it all set up here now, that I can trim it all off, cut it off, do my bends and everything, get this piece made, and start working on getting it fitting in the car. So I'll go ahead now and get this all cut up and bent up the same way I did the other one. I'm going to be having a lot of problems with background noise. Next door neighbors are clearing their land, and they're tearing up brush. So it's been like it now for 2 days. I've been trying to move forward with this box and wanting to take you guys along, and it's just the noise, as you can hear it here now, is just too much, okay? So I'm just going to bring you back from time to time. I want to get some work done on this. I've explained pretty well everything that I did over here. I got this one made, just tack weld together. I got to finish welding it all up. I got this all fit together here now, and I'm going to take that off and weld it up. So I got the two ends removed here now, and I've been thinking about what way I'm going to do this. It's rusted out along here, all along there, so that's just something going to have to be done with that somewhere along the lines. And I'm thinking here now, I'm probably just going to end up cutting that right through that section, right through the rust there, and cut it right off altogether. Now this inner panel, this one here, this panel here comes out, and the flange is up right here. And then it also comes out and wraps around this panel here. Now I want to cut it off and move it all forward. The more I look at this, My best bet is to build this the way it was done for factory. These pieces are going to be the last piece I'm going to end up putting in. I'm going to move all this back, fold the flanging around and weld it back on here, move all this rail and everything back, and then I'm going to reinstall this after. Up here on the top, this cold corner is going to have to be made farther up there. So it's irrelevant the way it is now. And it's only joined on in through here through spot welds, so I can cut this off in through here and get clear of it all together. I'm thinking about removing this panel off it altogether and getting it out of the way, and that way I can work these edges here, fold over these flanges, I can test fit this in, I can move this cross member back to where it's got to be. It's going to be a bit tricky, I don't know, I might take it all yet. I want to clean it out. I got some mess here, downside here, all this here is full of holes and everything, and ribs there. But I'm seriously thinking about taking this all apart and removing it in sections and putting this whole thing back in sections. That way I could do better rust repair, and the panels will fit better in the long run. And like, I'm gone this far into it now, I might as well keep going. So because of the noise, I'm just going to blow through this here. I'll bring you back from time to time to show you each individual piece that I got done. So I'm going to move on now and get all the cutting done on this here and get this out. So here's where I'm to. I got my ruler that I made, and I went ahead and I marked out the 16 inches, and then come back here and scribe the end of it all the way up through there. That's my reference line. That goes right on down through the body there. And I got this marked here on both sides and got a reference line. I just hooked it in the end of it there, came over and marked it 16. This is the bend that I want to have. So I'm going to come forward of it now, probably this much, 3/8 of an inch, a little bit more than a quarter, and I'm going to mark it again. And that's going to be the line I'm going to cut off, so that way I can roll this edge here. And I'll measure from here back to here. Is what I'll do is I'll measure forward from here then, my reference point, because this will be my point here that I got to measure back from. And I'll probably, what I'll end up doing here is on my little bend thing here, I'll scribe it. When I get it cut off, I'll scribe one location up here and do another cut like this here, so I can just lay it against this end here and it'll line up with this line here. That way I can make sure that this line here is parallel to this line here. Now this line here is parallel to this outer edge here. This is where I'm getting all my straight edge from. I went with a straight edge on it, that there is perfectly straight. And I got the other side done as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark these now, this side here, and then I can get ready and I can start cutting everything off. And there you have it. Everything is cut off it. I got everything cleaned up around here and everything that I don't need put out in the old plow truck. And I'm here now sizing up my next move. I've after cutting the full 16 inches off the back of her now, and I still got the little lippers left there. I've after seeing filler work here on both sides, just filler work on top. You see there's a little bit of filler work there, so this will have to be ground off. I do have the measurement from here to here on my stick, so I can draw that line again, but I got to strip all this section off up here. Now I got some rust I got to deal with. I have a spot here, but down here is the big thing. I got this here to deal with. What I got to do is I got to replace this section, and I got to make a new seam in along through here and get that done. I'm not going to weld the end of it, whatever I makes here, because I want to be able to fold this around. Because I got to fold this little bit here that I got here, I got to fold this over, because that there will be my edge of my panel. In here, I got to do some more trimming, but I got to replace this section right here. I'm not going to worry about the bottom on this so much, because this here, I got to trim this off down through here, and this here has to be bent this way, and it's spot welded onto the panel over here. This is where this used to weld on right here on this panel here. So I got to do, I got to get that straightened away, but I got to do this repair first. So there's a lot of repairs I got to do here, so I don't know how far I'm going to get. You can see how bad the bottom is here. I might extend this down and just have it so that I can actually have something to work with. It's easier to cut something off than it is to add to it. Over on this side is in good shape. Just for the lower side's a bit scaly. I might just chop it out and put a new piece on, I don't know. But all this here don't need no work here, and I don't need no work out here. There's a bit of surface rust here. I'll probably clean it up, but I'm not too concerned about it right now because it's not bad. And the same problem over here. I got to strip all this down and remark this side here with the paint stripped off it. Now onto the panels. You saw me there. I cut the bottom off of this one here because the bottom is bad. All I'm going to do is I'm going to weld a new piece onto here and just extend it down to whatever it got to be lengthwise. I'll trim this up a bit better. I have a lot of dents that I got to knock out of this. This here will tell you what this shape this truck was in, because this is the only part of the truck got no filler in it. And there is an abundance of dents in this everywhere. You can see all the dents there when I move it across the light. I'm just going to flatten them out. Not going to do nothing else with that. Just make the panel half sensible. That's the plan for there. So I got to do some repairs there, and I got to clean all this up in here and remove all this metal here and get this prepped so I can actually start welding to it. Top's the same way. I got to clean all this off because this is the section here that I got to build coming out from here. I got to do some trimming up here coming back, and then this continues on out this way. Over here, I got the front cross member. The front cross member has a bend in it right here. This here piece here got to be straightened up. This is not supposed to be bent like that. It's damaged like that because of what's been done to this here. I had to remove all this old stuff here. What my plan is I'm just going to drill out all the spot welds along here. Drill all them out because I'm going to have to weld this back on. You can see the spot welds there. And then this piece here will be easier to get off on the inside. And then in here on this side here, I got to remove all this stuff here. This is just the old floor pan. I want to get that out of the way. There's the original cross member brace, or the floor brace there, the pipe. I'm going to hold on to that, and I think I'm going to plate the top of it over as well and have it so that I can actually put the bolt down through. I want this to bolt on basically on them two bolt mounting points there and the two back ones. I want to put 4 corner bolts on it to start off. I got a mounting point right here, so I got to build a mount for that. Off the back, that's another whole nightmare in itself. But I'm not going to cut anything else out of it right now because this is what's holding everything together. I want to get the front all back on it. But I got a few hours of cleanup here to do. I got to clean all this up here and get this all straightened away. And then when I get everything to the point where, okay, let's start building pieces, I'll bring it back. I said it was the only panel on the truck that never had filler in it. Wrong. They even filled this panel. Where all the dents were too that were drove in through, they filled it. So the entire front of this bed has been filled as well. I want to know, has anybody ever seen a vehicle with this much filler on it before? Now, I've seen fellas with thick filler on cars and stuff like that posted on the internet. But, you know, have anybody ever stripped a car and every square inch of the car has filler in it? Like everywhere you look, there's filler. Everywhere you look, there's filler. Unreal, right? I've done my share of skim coats over the years, but I've never ever done this. What's amazing about this, I'm willing to say when this car was done, Buddy probably paid $1,000, $1,200 to do this. He brought it to a guy and they usually charge $400 or $500 to paint a car. $1,000, $1,200, and this is what he got, and he painted it red. Unreal. Because this even got the old yellow high solids in it, so it was after the pink putty era, and before, you know, in between the lacquer primers and stuff like that. So they did put high solids on, so we're thinking late 80s. That's what I'm thinking about. Because I can remember when all that showed up. Usually when I was going to trade school, it was around mid-80s that this stuff started showing up. And a lot of places still use lacquer primer and pink putty. When I went out into trade in the late 80s, a lot of shops I went to still used the lacquer primer and pink putty. And they didn't want to get in and on this new stuff, right? And then as the years went by, it all turned into high solids. That's what we used to call this stuff, high solids. And yeah, it is wild. But I got this one here all trimmed up, cleaned up. I got the pieces, you see me there. I don't drill none of that stuff out. Anytime I got strips, like down here, I'll take the grinder, I'll weaken the actual spot weld, and I'll cut it off. That way I got clean metal right here to weld to. Now, in the case of this here, I'm probably going to have to replace this corner. And, you know, a couple of small pieces here and there. Up along the top here, you can see where the welds actually tore through. I did the same thing up here, cut the top corner off it. But yeah, it is something else. This is something else. Anyway, I got a bit more there to clean up on that now, and then I'm going to get started on this mess here. I'm starting here to drill out the spot welds. All I'm doing is drilling them out with a 1/8 drill bit, and then going up with a step drill bit, and then drilling these ones out here. Look at this. That's all bare metal. See if I can get that there. No paint. There's no paint or nothing on that, and you can see it better on the back side of this thing here. You see the bare metal? See the bare metal? That's been there, like that, welded on there since 1967, and you take it off, just bare metal behind it, and all this rust is above it. It's wild, I'm telling you. I've had to find this a few spots on this truck. Look at the rust here. There's rust there, but there's nothing on the back side of that panel. It is amazing. But I'm going to continue on. I'm just going to keep drilling these out here. I want to remove this piece off the back of it because the panel goes in behind this here. That pan there. That fits down behind this here and the spot welded on across here. So I'm just going to go ahead now and drill all that out. That'll make this life a lot easier getting them pieces off there. And I got to remove these here because they're in the way of moving it around. And I'm afraid I'm going to break them off. So I want to dolly these up and weld these back on. So I'll go ahead now and get all that drilled out. So I'm here now and I got everything cleaned up. So it's all ready for repairs. I have a lot of repairs to do here. I got this panel here. I got to add 2 inches to the bottom of it. I just cut it clean right off. Out here on the end, I got some holes here. Up here on the top, a few holes. When you flip it over, there's some rust up in this corner. Got to be replaced. I got to cap the end of it. I got all the dents banged out of it. It's the best I'm going to do with it. And I just took the grinder and grind it all off. Amazingly, it's full of filler. Strangely enough with this truck, right? But you can see the rust holes over here I got to deal with. So that's one repair I got to do. Then I got this cross member here. I cleaned all the top of it off. Got rid of everything. Cleaned the back section off. Drilled out all the spot welds. Got them all done. This here now, after I tearing it apart, does have some rust issues down through here, right here. Down through here as well. You can see it over there. Right here was the original mounts, and they had these pipes in them. These are pretty rugged. I'm going to replace these. I want to put a piping system in here, but I want to cap the top of it as well up here and make it solid here on the top, because I don't know if I'm going to be closing this in. I might leave it open. I'm going to be welding angle iron onto it as a perimeter to mount everything to. I don't know what my plan is, so I want to have it so that the strength here is not in the floor, because before the floor used to be the top section that used to hold the actual bolt in place. And I just want to turn around and just put a plate over the top of it so I can drop it down through, and then that'll pull down on the whole works of it instead of damaging it, right? But yeah, and I got these braces all let go. They're pretty well straightforward. They just got to be quick clean up. A couple of minor cuts in them and stuff like that. This is the stuff I'm into on this truck. Shortening the cab on this, or shortening the box on this. There's more work in repairs than it is in the actual cut itself. Now, over here, this is where we're going to get started. This is all the major rust repair that got to be done on the actual box itself. Over on this side here, I got a little bit down here. I want to replace this section right here, because I want to be able to weld to the actual, this piece here, when it's all said and done, because I want to weld it to the back of the cab right here. I want to weld it on. So I'm going to replace this section down here, just let it hang down. I'll trim it up after the fact. But all this here is all good. There's a little bit of surface rust here. I'm not too concerned about it. I'll dig all that out. If it is a hole there, I'll cut it out later on. But all this here is fine. Going along here. Over on this side here, oh no. I got all this gone in here. She's gone down on the bottom here. And then when you come out here, we got all this here gone as well. All this here is gone through here. So what I'm going to do here first, before I get started, I'm going to take the grinder and I'm going to clean all this up to see what we're up against. I had to watch it because here's my second line, so I'm not going to get into this. My line is there. I'm just going to go back as far as here, clean everything up forward to that. Hopefully, I don't know. I might have to get into that, but I suppose if I just kept it small, it'll be all right. Yeah, I'll clean it up anyway. And we get this figured out, cleaned up. This is what we're going to start with here. We're going to do the repairs here, and here, and here. That's what we're going to concentrate on this morning. I don't know how far I'm getting on this job, on this video, because I got so much here got to be done. I've been busy the week doing other stuff, and I've been trying to get some hours in on this here. And so I'm going to see what I can. Today's Friday. I get a video out tonight, so let's make make a repair interesting. Let's do this one. So here's where I'm to. I got everything cleaned up. You can see all the rust. What I'm going to do, I'm taking it back to about here somewhere. I'm going to cut it up. I'm going to cut this section out of here and then see what I can actually clean up here, because I'm trying not to get into this section right here. I want to keep the support here. If I can just clean it up and just butt it into this section up here, that's fine. Down here, I got to make a whole new piece. I understand that. But back here, if I cut all this clear here, all this is going to be all wobbly and everything. And I'm trying to keep the strength right through this section here. So I'm going to go ahead now and clean this up some more and see. I got holes down here. I got to replace so much of the bottom of it as well. But I want to see how much of this I can actually save before I get into just chopping everything out of it. And I got it all cut out and cleaned up. I still have to cut some more of this. I'm going to take this whole section here right out of it. I left where the spot welds were too in here. All this was good. The spot welds are along here, and I left that alone there. I'm trying to keep this here strong, right here where I got this welded on. And I'd like to make all this in one piece, but I'm looking at it, and once I cut this clear here, I'm afraid all this is just going to go flimsy on me. And I'm thinking about making up this front section first and then doing the back section after. And just cut this section out when I'm ready to do it. I'm just cutting in here and just going to do a butt weld in along here. Not going to go in tight to that piece of metal. And I'm going to come down here and do a butt weld down along here. This will be underneath the panel. Then when I make this piece here go in underneath, it'll just go in and tuck into that, and I can weld it on the inside there. And that way I got my seam is there, and it's a nice seam. I got to follow the seam here. That's what I got to follow, the way that's done there. So I'm just here trying to debate on which way I should go about building this. Yeah, because there's two sections here. The section here comes up and then tips up into here, but I think I'm going to make this all in one piece. I can make the top one in one piece, and I might just duplicate what I got done here. I might come up here, come in, tip in, and make up this bottom piece, and then make this other section here come up and stop right here as well. And that way then I got a little lip here that I can weld right along here to weld the top section on. I'm trying to keep this here all together in one piece. I don't want to go letting it go. The easiest thing to do is cut the whole works out of it, but it's just going to make everything too flimsy for me. So I'm going to go ahead now. I think I'm going to start off with making this piece here. I'm going to make up the bottom. The bottom is going to be made in two pieces, and the top is going to be made in one. So it's the best way for me to go about this. And I'll make a piece to go along here that'll come up and come in and tuck in here and tip down, and that'll fit there, and I'll weld that on there. And then I'll make the inside piece, and that'll weld down to the top along here, and then that there will give strength back to this here, and I can cut that out over there. I decided I'm going to be making this out of the heavier steel, this whole section, because I want to do a butt weld on everything and do a nice tidy job on that seam up around that area. And I've been hunting through my steel bin down here. I'm getting low on this stuff, I can tell you that. And this here pretty well got the perfect bend on it. I just got to come in here and cut it off in here now, the right width, and then that piece here will be the outside section on the front corner. Got the piece cut out, trimmed up, and I went and marked it. I got to put another bend on it. On the inside here, I got to bend it downwards this way here. And I got the old Vivor breakout now. I'm going to set it up and make that bend. I'm here now fitting this in place, and the problem I run into, I was going to do a cut and butt here, but the problem is I need to get this flush so I get the right angle and everything on it, and so I actually got to do a cut to fit along here, and I'm trying to get this distance here the same as this distance here. I used a protractor, measure it from end to end, so I can actually scribe it, so I can find out where I'm going to cut it off to make it fit. Alright, trim that off now and set that up so I can weld it on. That's the first piece. You see me there, I had some troubles with it at the front there when I was looking down, sighting down this here and putting a straight edge on it. This end here was a bit low, so I had to play around with it a bit, bring it up, and then I had a bit of a gap there then. This is the hardest part about trying to float this piece in there. I couldn't get, because if I had to do an overlap on it, it would have been the same problem, because I don't know where this would have been, because this here is a different, this edge here will be out farther than this edge here. So I just had to wing it, and hopefully I got it, and I never, so I had to adjust and fix it. Then you see me weld it all up, and then I cooled it for a while after I welded an inch and skipped an inch, and then I cooled it off. Then I turn around. Now this is a tight area. I wouldn't be welding a full inch like that if I was in an open panel, but we're such a small area, and I got an edge here and an edge here. Usually you can get away with it. It did drop a small smidgen right in through the weld because I had too much heat in it. That's it. I'm not worried about that too much. But yeah, I'm happy that I left it a bit long. I don't worry about that there. I want it all longer so that I can trim it off and put a nice edge on it after. All this here has to be rolled in over anyway. I may have to split through this because you're not going to be able to roll that weld. So I may have to cut it right here so I can roll it and re-weld it again. But I got that piece made. So now I'm going to come in here and I'll make another piece that'll weld on in here, come up, come across here and overlap here. And you can see the way that there goes on. And I'll spot weld this in along this edge here and give this strand here. That way I can cut this piece out and repair that one next. So I'll go ahead now and get the piece made up and get it fit in place. And there you have that piece all installed, all welded on in there. So now all that there is all, the strength is back there again. Now I can go over here now and I'm going to cut this piece out of here. I'm going to go back to here, take this section out of here and out of here. I'm going to weld it in through here. And then butt weld it out across here so I got a nice crisp edge along here. Don't ever be concerned with doing multiple pieces and stuff, right? I'm doing this way because I don't want to disturb too much stuff. And like, you know, you could have made all this in one piece, made all this here in one piece and all that type of stuff. But no, I'm trying to keep it as small as I possibly can and keep the pieces to the whole point that I'm not disturbing too much, moving stuff around. So I'm going to go ahead now and cleave off this section here and get a piece of metal there made up. I already got a piece over there on the bench that's got this angle on it the same way as this one here that I'm going to cut out. And I'm going to cut this off and get that fit in place and get that one welded in. I got it trimmed out. I got the piece cut out. Got it trimmed up. I got to do some fine tuning, but I'm going to go ahead now, get that welded in there. I got that all grind and dressed up. That's all finished. Inside's welded in along there. You can see it there. You can actually see where I welded it because the inner panel is a bit high. There is a bit of a gap here. When you get back here, it's a pretty wide gap. And then this is all seam sealed after I got it all dug out. So I got that all done. There's a nice straight edge going down across that now. So now I got to, I went and made the last piece. I had a strip left over. It was 2 inches wide. That's going to go right there like so. I'm just going to line it all up. I want to have the same distance in here as what it is right here. And then I'm going to have the same height here as well. And then I'm going to do like the cut and butt up along here and down through here. But I'm going to basically concentrate on getting this corner here straightened away and getting my height in inner outer section right here straightened away. And then I'll worry about the top after because that can be cut and fit and whatever. I can dolly that because I can get a hammer and a dolly in behind it. So I'll get this one welded in. Now I'll start here and weld it on here. And then I'll come up here and get this here straightened up. I want to trim all this off here now. You can see where the pieces were put in it, up along here and along the bottom side here. I'm going to go ahead now and trim all them off and have that done. And there you have it. Very simple techniques. There's nothing fancy there and no fancy tools. It's just how I approached it. I got it all done there now to the whole point that you can actually see I got a nice body line down through there again. Now, is it perfect? No, not really. There's probably a little, that's going to need to be filled. That's going to need to be filled there, right? Now, there's a really large gap in here. And it's the way it was back here. So I just duplicated what was there. It seems like this here may be a bit high here, but I'm going to live with it. On this section here, this is where I joined to them, I think. So right in through here. If I want to, I could probably split this here and tap it in and re-weld it again. Because if you look down, you can see there's a little small discrepancy there. Like, I'm mostly on this truck. I've been doing a lot of lap welds and that type of stuff. But this repair I thought was going to be very interesting. I see this rust on these trucks from time to time. I think it's a good repair to walk people through and show how I done it. Now, you can get very, very meticulous with all this here and get right inside and replace it all. But as you can see, I didn't get carried away with, like, this is made in 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. This entire repair was done in. So don't be concerned about making everything in 1 piece or 2 pieces, because this panel here comes down, tips in here, and goes over here and goes down this way here. And this panel just comes up, comes over, and tips over. That's the way it was from factory. So, you know, if you wanted to, you could have cut the whole works out of it and rebuilt this entire section right on back through it and done all that and done a repair. But it can be done. It's just that you can't go taking too much of it. If he takes too much of it, then everything's going to get really, really flimsy. And like I showed you in here with this piece, I didn't want to take the strength away from this area here. So I put it out here first, and then I went in working on that section in there because I want to keep everything there. Because what would happen is all this would start opening up. I measured here to here on both sides. It's the same, right? So, but yeah, that was a very fun. I enjoyed that one because it was a very challenging, and it was probably the worst spot on this entire box that I had to. Everybody used to look at it and see it like, oh my God, like, once you find a better box. But there you go. It's just a simple repair. I done it all in 18 gauge because it's a lot easier to work with when you're welding, when you're doing the cut and butt. Oh yeah, this upper piece here, when I welded it in, I butt welded it up here. And then what I did then is I just tack welded, overlapped it up here, and then I did the cut and butt in along here and just let it fall in. And I had to tap it along to get it to go in as I was going. Then I had to keep cutting it because usually what I do is I welds it on and sections, and then I start cutting through it, and then nothing moves on me. But if you don't, if you just have an open seam like this here and you just start doing the cut and butt through it, what ends up happening, the metal starts to close up on you all the time, and you're constantly cutting it and constantly cutting it. That's the reason why I always like doing tacks on everything when I do it, and just leaving the tacks there and cut to the tack and weld up to the tack and then go on from there. The metal got a tendency to hold better. Yeah, but I got the seam in through there. That'll be seam sealed now in through there, like the way it was from factory, all down through there. I got to clean all that when I'll do both sides and seam seal them out. But yeah, that there was a good repair. Now, this is as far as I'm going to get on this one here. I got a lot more repairs to do. I got to do repairs to this, repairs to this. I got to do sections down here. I want to extend them down on both sides so I can actually have this here to weld to it. But this is where we're going to leave this one. And next week, hopefully I'll get the bed. It'll be all one piece next week. I'll have the actual bed done. I can start cutting the floor out of it. Anyway, this is where we're going to leave this one. Hope the tips are good. And until next time.